Well, really, it started with birch chemicals that produce a calcium oxide. Calcium oxide works as a desiccant in the mixture of EPDM rubber. And what calcium oxide does is it actually absorbs moisture during the process. And with that, we started to look at other ways that calcium oxide could be used because whilst EPDM is a great market for us to penetrate and be in, it's not necessarily a large marketplace. So we looked to expand revenues and we thought calcium oxide is our core component, which we manufacture here on site. So we decided to explore where else it could be used. The site here is huge. It's based in North Lincolnshire. It's been here for 200 years. We actually mine the chalk-based lime that we have. We have four massive kilns that burn effectively the lime, so it turns us into calcium oxide or a product that we can use as a desiccant. Well, it came about actually through one of our sales managers, Graham. He had originally worked within the desiccant marketplace and had looked at supplying calcium chloride based products in the marketplace, in particular around reducing container rain or moisture within containers. But some of the issues with calcium chloride is that whilst it's very good at absorbing moisture, it's very good at re-releasing it. So once it's absorbed it, if you get it hot enough, it lets it back into the atmosphere again. So what we decided was that really, surely the industry needs a product that once it absorbs the moisture, that it keeps it within the product itself and doesn't re-release when it gets hot. So that's how we sort of started to experiment with different formulations to see what we could produce that when moisture is absorbed, it's not re-released again. But also what was important was that it was able to do that at a wide range of temperatures and wide range of humidities as well, because a natural container on a ship, most people regard it as being on the ship for a long period of time, which of course it is when it's traveling across the oceans. But that's not where the issue really is with container rain. Container rain is caused by fluctuations in temperature and humidities. Often, and if you may have seen or experienced, the containers don't actually go on a ship, go to a destination and come off. Invariably, they go through various transit ports. So they will be taken off the container ship. They will sit on the hard somewhere for a period of days, sometimes even up to 8, 9 days, dependent, and then they'll be put on a ship again. Well, of course, on that period of time where they're sat on the hard is when invariably they might be somewhere like Tangiers or the Suez Canal or the Panama Canal, the Port of Panama, where temperature ranges vary hugely between night and day. And of course, the humidity as well is within the container. So when you look at a typical transit of, let's say, from Chile for a container, it may go via the Panama Canal, right the way up through the Atlantic into Tangiers and North Africa. Then it might go all the way along to the Suez Canal, through the Suez Canal, out the other end, and end up in Dubai. It's humidity full stop. So just general climate conditions. Everyone has probably knows about when they've gone to a hot country with high humidity, and you take the Asia countries as an example, or anywhere on the equator, where temperature just absorbs moisture or creates a vector, in fact, of moisture into the air. So with that, any hot country that's probably, equatorial as an example, has a lot of humidity in the air. And then once that gets inside the container, the minute the temperature drops the humidity goes up. So, and then it starts to condense, and that's when you start to get the water sticks to the inside of the container, and then it sticks so much and it absorbs, and it's a bit like a rain cloud, and hence the reason why it's called container rain. Is that actually what happens is it then condenses so much that eventually the own weight of its water drops down onto the products or the cargo within inside, which then, needless to say, if it's not well protected, or if it's open cargo such as cocoa beans or something like that, then they immediately get damaged with it. Yes, it's difficult to quantify the exact amounts, but it's generally accepted that 10% of all cargo is damaged by container rain. So if you take on an average ship, a container ship, there are normally between 18 and 22,000 containers. And then if you imagine the number of ships there are that travel around the world, that'll give you some idea of the level of damage or potential damage that containers, or the quantity that we're talking about. So if you can imagine on a ship that you've got those 22,000, 2,000 of them could be damaged through container rain. Well, we've used our experience and expertise in moisture control within rubber and plastics markets. So we've had I suppose we're fortunate enough to have the technical ability and skill set, really, and the research and development to really develop an excellent product that works extremely well across a wide variety of temperatures and humidities. Without giving away too many trade secrets, we've managed to produce a formula which we've patented so that obviously our competition can't copy us. So we've produced a formula that we believe, and certainly in tests and analysis that we've done, outperforms every single product in the marketplace. So, firstly, quantifying the performance. When you take the typical products of our competition, everyone looks to develop basically calcium chloride versions. I've already mentioned earlier that the calcium chloride, in effect, is very good at absorbing moisture very quickly, but the problem is it doesn't hold it. Now, there is certain packaging that you can use that helps keep the water in, but when it becomes so saturated, it just drips out again, and it re-releases that moisture back into the atmosphere. So what we've managed to do is get a material or product together, and the materials for the packaging, where it still rapidly absorbs the moisture, but does it over a longer period of time. Because if you take the container journey, can be up to like 8 weeks. So you've got to have something that lasts the whole of the journey, and not something that just hits the moisture in the first 3 to 4 days. So with that, we also looked at having a combination of materials that provides that longevity. So it's not just having a calcium chloride, which of course we've got in that, but we've looked at other materials as well that are very good acts as very good desiccants. When we say we've got a really, probably the what we believe is the best performing product on the marketplace, is because we're taking into account all of those factors. Typically, the competition will only last a matter of days, so really short. And they're very quick acting, and it's great that they do that in a very short space of time. But if you've then got a product that is left in the container for a period of 10 days on the hard, then the performance drops off massively. Where we've looked to produce a product is so that it's able to absorb the moisture for a long period of time, in terms of when we talk about long periods of time, but we're talking 45 to 60 days. So we believe that that will cover most journeys of a container around the world. Yes, we have. We've had the product independently tested, not via just independent testers that we've appointed, but also our distributor network have tested it as well. All of them have come back and said the product performs exceptionally well, and they believe that it has a huge advantages over the competition. The lead times are good in terms of from a manufacturing perspective, but more importantly is the research and development lead time. Because we've invested huge sums of money on our R&D department, we have our own in-house testing and development team that are constantly working on refining the products and developing new products as well, because we're not just doing these desiccants for the cargo industry, we're also doing it for the medical and pharma industries. So they're constantly researching new methods, new ways, and new products to develop. So when you look at where we're trying to develop this product base at the moment and BirchSorb Cargo, which is where we are different to the competition, is that we might talk to a customer and they say, look, we've got particular issues because we are shipping from Chile to Dubai, as an example. These are the extended journey times. We need a product that's going to protect us for the whole of that journey in its different forms, of where it might be on a steady state within the sea, but then high temperatures at different periods along its journey, or different moisture rates during its journey. What we're able to do is specifically design a product for that journey. And that's where we have a significant advantage over the competition, because we can formulate specifically for a journey. Yes, correct. Correct. So we've already been asked by certain distributors to say, can you develop this product because we're in this market? And that's where we're able to say, yep, no problem at all. Give us the parameters. So we have special equipment that sits in the containers, and it measures the humidity, it measures the temperature within it. It also will tell us effectively whether or not the container, how long it's sat on the hard, where it is. You can see it on Google Maps as an example. So we have the technology to fully understand the container's journey, and that data is then analysed, given to the R&D team, and they say, right, okay, this is what we need to do. We recreate that within our labs and design a formula accordingly. The desiccant marketplace is fairly unsophisticated. There are some known products, but there's not much investment or research and development into new products or refining the products or making them that much better. There may be some incremental changes, but it's a very basic marketplace in terms of its technology. And what we've brought to the marketplace is something that actually is very sophisticated in terms of its technology. Everyone realizes the impact that companies, people have on the environment. Climate change is such a big issue at the moment for everyone, and we all have to take responsibility of that, and none more so than at Birch Chemicals. If you look at our company vision and mission statement at the very first page, is around our sustainability and development goals. We're very conscious about that, and in terms of trying to reduce, obviously, our environmental impact and our carbon emissions, even to the point of where we're looking to invest in zero carbon kilns, so that we don't use too much energy or any energy effectively in making calcium oxide. We're also looking at what we're doing from an environmental impact perspective of the materials that we use, because we realize that if we don't make that effort towards reducing our carbon footprint, then we're going to have a negative impact on the environment. So everything we do is based around our core SDGs, our Sustainable Development Goals, and we work with consultants on that as well. So we have independent consultants that effectively monitor and analyze what we're doing as an organization because we know it's important and it's a responsibility of every organization to look at those aspects. No, it does differ. What we've tried to do is use some specialist material that has low impact on the environment. It's not recyclable. It is a product that is very efficient in its production. The thing with container rods and so forth is all of these products just get thrown in a skip at the end of their life. That's just what happens with the products because they can't be reused. However, with the container rods, they require a lot of material to use because of just the way that they operate with calcium chloride and having to collect water, etc. What we've designed is a very efficient product in the way it works, but also from an environmental aspect as well. There are probably too many to mention, but let's take what causes it and the characteristics of it that cause moisture and moisture related issues. Even if you look at something like go to a hot country or a rainy country, or it might be rainy season in the country, people leave their pallets outside. They absorb moisture. So the minute they go into any type of transport, enclosed transport, of course, they're carrying a certain amount of moisture within that, or even water. If you're looking at products which are cooled by water. So typically, the plastics industry, when they're making master batches and things like that, they run through a saltwater bath. Well, of course, that's immediately causing moisture. So what happens is that that moisture gets packed into the product itself for shipping. So you look at steel coils as an example. Whilst they themselves don't have moisture, but of course when they're packed and if there's any moisture in the air, immediately it starts to corrode the steel. So if you think of anything that can be affected by moisture, and look at paper, if paper's left amongst moisture too long, it goes damp and mouldy. Obviously, food, for instance, is a classic one because most of the time moisture affects food. If you take into account electronics, the last thing that you need is moisture in electronics because it corrodes the boards, it affects the microchips inside. So, of course, that's a big issue. And that's why, in fairness, when you see things like cameras and computers and so forth, you see these silica gel sachets within them, and everything you buy has got the silica gel sachets in there. The issue with silica gel in particular, and lots of people do use silica gel for desiccants, is they only work in a very narrow range, of a very narrow operating range, which is usually high temperature, high humidity. Well, if you take the normal temperature within a room, it's like 20 degrees, 25 degrees. Well, silica gel doesn't work in that environment or doesn't work very well. In fact, it only works 8% efficiency. At the very best, silica gel, even in its optimum performance, or optimum environment for working, or its optimum performing environment, will only ever be 30% of its own weight. And some of the issues that we're getting with silica gels at the moment coming out of the Far East is they're very acidic, and that's causing lots of issues with certain types of products. So, with that, we have developed an alternative product to that, which is much more efficient and works in a much broader spectrum in terms of temperature and humidity. But we've yet to launch that product because we're going through final testing. This is where Birch Chemicals is starting to push the bounds of the desiccant industry and technologies at the moment. I think everyone has witnessed climate change to a greater or lesser degree. I mean, none more so than I think in recent times where temperatures have increased enormously in certain areas. I mean, look at what happened to Australia, over 12 months ago. Look what's happening in California now, where they're seeing huge temperatures, unprecedented in every way. Take good old Blighty in terms of what we see in temperatures. More rain, which is an issue in itself because it just means there's more moisture in the air. And I think every country has been affected by climate change, which then means that when we are transporting goods around the world, in these containers, then they're going to be affected even more so. So we only see the problem becoming greater. Our core product has been the Innovox range of material, which is calcium oxide based material, but it's our Innovox range of material we ship globally. 85% of what we produce is exported. As a result of that, we've built up a distributor network global. We feature very heavily out in Europe, Asia, and the Americas. With us having established trading routes, then our lead times are very quick. And often what happens is that if we have a container or containers going out to certain countries, then we're able to include other products within those containers and ship accordingly. So we run very much what we call a sort of hub and spoke network. So we have our hubs out in Asia, and it could be Vietnam, could be Mumbai, could be Akron in America, all of these places where we can ship to and then distribute accordingly. We have, I would say, globally over 50 distributors now in these countries where we can ship all of our products to. The issue with some of the products that are being produced at the moment is that they're one use. So effectively, what happens is they absorb the moisture, they get used up, they've done their job, and then they get thrown in the skip afterwards. What we're looking to develop is a product that can be reused, one that reduces the impact on the environment, but also is that it can be reused a number of times. And we're currently heavily investing in the research of getting those materials right. So effectively, what happens is at the end of the journey, it's taken out, it will go through a process of reusing or reigniting the product itself, for instance, and then that will be able to be reused again. In terms of the product price in itself, we're not the cheapest and we're not the most expensive. However, what we've tried to do is develop a product where the cost of ownership is low. So the cost of usage effectively for us. Many other products are seem to be low cost because oh well, I get so many kilos for one product, and people use that as a metric. Whereas we use the actual usage or effectiveness as a metric. So you might well turn around and say, yes, I buy 20 of these products for X amount of pounds or dollars. Whereas we look at it and saying, well, actually, how much do you need to actually do the job? So, and if you've got a very effective product, then you need less of it. So where we try to get our customers to understand and really think about the way that they're using their material is saying, actually, the product, the BirchSorb product, is much more effective than the competition. So we don't need so much of it. So we look at that cost of usage as opposed to an individual product price. Well, I think uh, any business that tries to enter into new marketplace is difficult because you're trying to build credibility, some standing within the marketplace, and obviously it has a bearing on how the competition react to you as well. We're very mindful of all of these factors. Um, but everybody has an opportunity to break into a new marketplace with good new products. I think you only have to look at it in cars. There's always been some established players, and people were very wary when Kia came into the marketplace and Hyundai. Yet they've come in, they offer brilliant products at a price point and have done very, very well. And have truly established themselves within the car manufacturing industry. And it's the same for Birch Chemicals. We're coming in as a new player. There's some big new, there's some big established companies out there that have been doing it for a number of years. Dare I say that we could come in and compete with great new products. We believe that are the best in the marketplace, but we're prepared to put our money where our mouth is. Where customers come along and say, "Well, we're not sure," we say, "Try it, give it a go. We'll put all the analytics in place with it as well, and we'll prove to you that it's the best in the marketplace." And actually, that has been well received. It's constantly being refined and developed. This is not something that we've developed a brilliant product and say, there we go, we're going out to market with it. We know that the competition are going to be doing the same. So we've got to stay ahead of the competition. And hence the reason why we spend so much money on research and development and refining the product and trying to find new materials that will work better, faster, longer, etc. So we've got a mixture of routes. So we've got our key distributors that we work with, and they're readily available on our website. We've also got our e-commerce site. We've got specialists, technical consultants that our customers can work with, and they're all readily available online or via telephone call, email, etc. We'll engage however our customers want to. More so, probably like WhatsApp, Snapchat these days, and so forth. But we have plenty of resources behind us to support our customers. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's the one area that we've have a level of competence with that we in what has been our traditional marketplace or our traditional products is we have the technical competence, and we see that as a competitive advantage where people can talk to us and we know what we're talking about.